The ballroom fell into stunned silence as a sharply dressed CEO raised her hand and pointed toward a tired single father standing quietly near the entrance with his young daughter. Every eye turned toward him as security guards stepped forward without hesitation. The little girl clutched her father's hand so tightly that her tiny fingers trembled. Guests whispered among themselves, convinced they were about to witness a thief being exposed. But no one could have imagined that the worn-out canvas bag resting beside the father's feet carried a secret powerful enough to change every life in that room forever. Before we continue, if you believe kindness should never be judged by appearances, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribe to spread love daily. Your support helps us bring more heart-touching stories to people around the world. The annual Hartwell Foundation Charity Gala was the most prestigious daytime event in the city. Crystal chandeliers reflected golden sunlight pouring through enormous windows, while successful entrepreneurs, celebrities, and philanthropists filled the magnificent ballroom wearing expensive suits and elegant dresses. Every guest represented influence, wealth, or power. At the center of the event stood Serena Hartwell, the brilliant young CEO who had transformed her family's company into an international success. She was respected for her intelligence, feared for her strict standards, and admired for her confidence. Everything at the gala reflected perfection, and she intended to keep it that way. Near the entrance stood a man who seemed completely out of place. His name was Rowan Mercer, a 38-year-old widowed father whose dark jacket had been carefully ironed despite its age. Beside him stood his 8-year-old daughter, Nora, wearing a simple blue dress that Rowan had purchased from a neighborhood thrift shop before carefully repairing every loose stitch himself. Although their clothes were modest, they stood with quiet dignity. Rowan held a faded invitation in one hand and an old canvas travel bag in the other. That bag contained nearly everything that mattered to him. Months earlier, Rowan had received a handwritten invitation from the Hartwell Foundation. It had arrived unexpectedly, carrying only a brief note signed by the foundation's elderly chairman, Arthur Hartwell. Rowan assumed there had been some mistake, but the invitation clearly welcomed both him and his daughter as honored guests. Unsure why they had been invited, he gathered enough courage to attend. As they entered the ballroom, expensive conversations slowed. Curious eyes quickly turned into suspicious stares. Some guests quietly questioned how someone dressed so simply had managed to enter such an exclusive gathering. Serena noticed the uncomfortable whispers spreading across the room. She walked toward the entrance, convinced that security had overlooked something. Without asking Rowan a single question, Serena instructed the security team to inspect his bag. She believed every guest deserved protection and that appearances sometimes concealed dangerous intentions. Rowan lowered his eyes, not because he felt guilty, but because he had experienced this kind of judgment many times before. Since losing his wife 5 years earlier, every day had become a battle against assumptions. Employers questioned his dedication because he was raising a child alone. Landlords doubted his reliability. Strangers assumed poverty meant dishonesty. Still, Rowan remained calm because his daughter was watching. Security carefully placed the canvas bag onto a nearby table. Every zipper opened under dozens of curious eyes. Instead of stolen valuables or dangerous objects, the guards discovered neatly folded children's clothes, a lunch container with homemade sandwiches, several schoolbooks covered in protective plastic, medicine for Nora's asthma, and an old family photograph resting inside a worn wooden frame. Beneath those items lay a polished gold pocket watch engraved with the initials AH. The moment Arthur Hartwell entered the ballroom, his eyes locked onto the pocket watch. His expression changed instantly. The elderly chairman hurried toward the table, ignoring the confused crowd surrounding him. He gently picked up the watch with shaking hands, turning it over until the faded engraving caught the sunlight. Tears slowly filled his eyes. No one understood what they were witnessing. Arthur quietly looked at Rowan before embracing him so tightly that the room became completely silent. Serena stood frozen, unable to understand why her father was hugging the men she had just publicly humiliated. Arthur finally revealed a truth that had remained hidden for more than 30 years. Long before building his business empire, Arthur had been an ordinary young engineer struggling to survive. During a devastating factory explosion, he became trapped beneath heavy machinery while fire spread rapidly around him. As smoke filled the building, everyone believed escape was impossible. One brave maintenance worker ignored every warning and rushed back inside. That man risked his own life to rescue Arthur from certain death. Arthur survived, but the rescuer suffered severe injuries that permanently affected his health. Before Arthur could properly repay him, the men disappeared to another city, choosing a quiet life instead of recognition. That courageous worker had been Rowan's late father. Arthur explained that the gold pocket watch had belonged to him. After recovering in the hospital, he had given it to Rowan's father as a symbol of endless gratitude. Years later, Arthur spent decades searching for the family that had saved his life, hoping to return the kindness that had allowed him to build everything he owned. Only recently had private investigators located Rowan after discovering records connected to his late father. The invitation to the gala had never been accidental. Arthur wanted to honor the family whose sacrifice had made his own success possible. The ballroom grew painfully quiet as every guest realized how quickly they had judged Rowan. Serena felt her confidence crumble beneath the weight of embarrassment. She remembered the fear in Nora's eyes as security searched their belongings. She remembered assuming that worn clothes meant someone did not belong. Rowan never displayed anger. Instead, he gently picked up the family photograph from the table. It showed his late wife smiling beside him while holding baby Nora. He explained that after losing his wife to illness, he had worked every job imaginable to keep his daughter safe. He cleaned offices before sunrise, repaired bicycles during the afternoon, and delivered groceries late into the evening. Every dollar went toward Nora's education, medicine, and future. The old bag that had attracted everyone's suspicion simply carried the few treasures that reminded them they were still a family. Many guests quietly wiped tears from their faces. Arthur walked onto the stage and addressed everyone attending the gala. He admitted that wealth often blinded people to the true value of character. He explained that courage, sacrifice, honesty, and love could never be measured by expensive clothing or luxury cars. Looking directly at Serena, he gently reminded her that leadership was not proven by authority but by compassion. Serena slowly approached Rowan and Nora with tears in her eyes. Before the entire audience, she sincerely apologized for allowing appearances to guide her judgment. She admitted that despite years of business success, she had forgotten one of the simplest lessons her own father had taught her as a child: every person carries a story invisible to the world. Rowan accepted her apology without hesitation. He believed bitterness only created more pain, while forgiveness created opportunities for healing. Nora smiled shyly as Serena knelt beside her and promised that no child visiting the Hartwell Foundation would ever again feel unwelcome because of their appearance. That promise became reality. Within months, the Hartwell Foundation launched scholarships for children raised by single parents, employment programs for struggling families, and emergency assistance for widows and widowers rebuilding their lives. Rowan accepted a position overseeing several community outreach projects, using his own experiences to help families facing hardships similar to his own. Instead of receiving charity, he became someone who inspired hope for others. The old canvas bag remained in Rowan's office, untouched except for the occasional glance toward the family photograph and the gold pocket watch. Together they reminded him that true wealth had never been hidden inside the bag. It had always existed inside the love he carried for his daughter and the legacy of courage left behind by his father. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes kindness can change lives, and subscribe to spread love daily. Your support encourages us to continue sharing stories that inspire compassion and hope. Glowing Star special request: before the ending, please comment with the words, "Kindness sees the heart." We'd love to know how many people still believe that true character is worth more than appearances. As the afternoon sunlight filled the ballroom one final time, every guest walked away carrying a lesson far greater than any speech delivered that day. Expensive suits would eventually wear out. Grand buildings would someday fade. Business empires could rise and fall. But one act of courage, one act of forgiveness, and one act of kindness could echo across generations. Rowan entered the gala as a man judged for what he carried in his bag. He left as the living reminder that the greatest treasures are never found inside possessions, they are found inside the human heart. And for everyone who witnessed that unforgettable afternoon, it became impossible ever to judge another person by appearances again.